Hello! Today we're going to put together a GreenLine Beach Cruiser 7-speed bike. And if you put the bike together, if you watch my video and you put the bike together and you have a great time with it, then then I have succeeded. However, if you put it together incorrectly, I'm not liable in any way. So, thank you for listening to this video, and here we go. Welcome to the GreenLine Beach Cruiser 7-speed aluminum bike unboxing and assembly. Here are some of the tools you're going to need. Diagonal cutters to remove the packaging. You'll need pliers, an Allen wrench, or a set of Allen wrenches, a screwdriver with multiple bits, a nut driver, and you may actually need some sockets. If you have some metric sockets, that will also be a plus. Okay, so first thing we want to do is open the box. We'll get these tools out of the way here. And make sure that this is the correct side. The reason you know it's the correct side is because you're looking at the pictures of the tools, which are right here. So actually, if this is up, then this is the top side. So here's my diagonal cutters. That's the first thing I want to do is cut these straps. Then if you have a box cutter, you can cut the sides over here. You can use the box to assemble your bike on. You need to remove all this packaging. First thing you do is you want to cut these clips. So, get all plastic clips, and this wrapping can just be pulled off pretty much. So we're going to finish cutting the strapping, and then we'll come back and show you how to assemble the bike. So we've removed all the packaging, and you can see these are the various parts you should have with your bike. There's the front wheel. It includes the fender. You'll notice the fender is already packed on the front wheel. Just leave it there. Then you've got the frame. The frame already has the gears and the derailleurs installed. Also, all the cables are hooked up already to the brakes and the gears. And so just be careful not to let it kink or get tangled when you're unboxing it. Also, you have your seat, your saddle. You have the pedals that go on the crank. You have the seat post. And you also have a little bag of tools that may come in handy to assemble the bike, including a screwdriver and a little various nut sizes. And also you have the manual, which does have instructions on how to assemble the bike, a bike, but not necessarily this bike. It's pretty generic. And the first thing you want to do is get the front wheel onto the fork. So we're going to, with the assistance of a friend or a relative, everybody wants you to come in here. So remember, this is already hooked up. This is the handlebars. So you just kind of want to get this out of the way for the moment. So we'll be assembling the handlebars later. Right now we're just going to stick it in here just to get it out of the way. It doesn't matter how you do it. So then you'll notice on the fork there is a little spacer, and that's for packaging. So we just want to just knock that off and get rid of that garbage. So Emily, bring the tire over. Now I notice when you put the tire on, the brakes get in the way. So you want to disconnect the brakes. So if you zoom in on this, can you zoom in on this, camera person? Mm-hmm. What we want to do is we want to disconnect that so it opens it up. So it's easy to do, and it clips back together just as easily. So you notice I took the fender off of the top of the tire because it's almost impossible to put the tire and the fender together in the bike. You have to put the fender past the brakes, which we've opened up, and now it's going to go right there. Okay, so now we can go ahead and put the tire in. And be careful to put the fork right on the wheels right there like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach the wheel. So let's go ahead and take those little nuts. Emily, don't get in the way of the camera. Okay, so once again, there's a tiny little bracket here on this washer, and it faces the bike, and it goes in this little hole right there. And it's the same thing on the other side. After you've got both nuts on the tire, you'll want to tighten this up. So take a box wrench. In this case, it's a 15 millimeter box wrench. Just tighten it so you feel a little bit of resistance. Don't over tighten it, you'll strip it. And on the other side, the same thing. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and attach temporarily the top here just so it's easier to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my little package of materials that the company sent with the box. And inside you'll notice there's a piece like this. You won't find this in the instructions because they don't talk about the fender. So there's a washer that has a little rounded part. There's a flat and two flat washers. So this is going to go right now. Like I say, I'm just going to do it temporarily. So I'm just going to put that through the front here like this and attach to a fender just to hold it on loosely while I get everything else together. So now I'm going to want to put these fenders, attach the fenders to the little screws on the side. Now these screws come very tight. So I tried it with a screwdriver initially, but I discovered that a nut driver or electric screw gun is best for removing these. So you can loosen them up or take them all the way off. And then you notice each one has a washer. So the washer goes on the outside. So, and once again, you want to do these just loosely because there is a little bit of adjustment later on. The fender does seem to get in the way of the brakes a little bit if you don't do it right. So, the front brakes. So just screw these in just loosely and do the same thing on the other side. And we'll be back in a moment. Okay, so you notice I have the fender on now, and I've loosely screwed in the screws that hold this part on. As you remember, we put this top part in temporarily. Now the brakes are still disconnected, so, but before I put the brakes back together, I'm going to go ahead and put on this little reflector, which you don't really need, but you might like to have it. Some people have their own special reflectors they prefer to use. So you notice it just fits. There's a little divot right here on the top of the fender, and there's a little angle right there on the reflector. So also the reflector needs to sit flat and this is not a flat surface, so they give you this special little washer here that has a round part that fits over the rounded part of the fork, the top of the fork, and a flat part where this can sit on. So that can go, just push this through the top, through the front of the reflector with one washer on the outside. Push this through with the rounded part on the inside. That's going to fit flush. And be careful to make sure you angle it so it comes out the other side. So then push that in, and there's a lock washer. There's a little bit of Loctite, little blue inside it. That's Loctite. So just screw that on over here. And then I'm going to need a pliers. And here's orange pliers here. And a screwdriver. So I'll hold the nut with the pliers, and I'll just turn the screwdriver. And I'm going to just leave it a little bit loose, just in case there is some trouble with the brakes. So now I'm going to go ahead and attach the brakes. So you'll notice there's a little, this is the little bracket here which we undid before. And the top of it, there's a little hole here, and at the top there's a little slot. So I'm going to push the brakes together by hand, and you can pull this rubber part back. It's just going to get in the way of you seeing what you're doing. And put this little, this little nipple part goes in there, and that holds it in one place. And then you can put the rubber part back over it like this. So we're not going to adjust the brakes at this moment. I'm going to do the handlebars for you. So the only thing now I have really tight here is the front wheel. Everything else is a little bit loose because there's going to be some play when we do our final assembly. You'll notice the brakes are a little bit loose here. So you're going to have to do some adjustment on the brakes later on, which this video doesn't cover, but there are plenty of videos online you can get for brake adjustments. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the handlebars. You notice for packaging the handlebars were inverted, so I'm going to need my Allen wrench kit. So we're looking under the handlebars now, and you can see there's an Allen wrench here. That one's too small, so I'll just go up to the next size. And I'll just loosen that up. I don't need to take it out. I just need to loosen it, and you'll see this will pop up like this. You'll want to do your final adjustment when your rider is ready to try it out. But right now we'll just put it in the riding position. Notice the handlebars face back towards the stem this way. So I'm going to go ahead and remember we just put these in temporarily, so this is not the way they go, because you'll notice that the cables will not be in the right position if you just try to tighten it here. So we want to pull it back out and make sure the cables are in front of the handlebars. You don't have any in the back. So then you put that back in, and then all you need to do to secure the height, and once again this is also an adjustment that you want to do for your rider. So to tighten it is clockwise, untighten it is counterclockwise. Don't ever untighten it all the way, because there's a little piece in here which can drop down to the bottom of the slot, and then you'd lose it and it would be hard to get it out. So you want to make sure it's square to the fork. You can look at the tire or the fork, make sure that you square off the handlebars so that it's straight with the front wheel. Tighten it up, and later on when your rider gets on here and tries it out, they may want to have the handlebars up higher, or they may want them lower. So you've got plenty of play in here to do that with. So right now I think the handlebars are probably a little too low. The basic configuration is handle straight out, but like I say, your rider may want them a little higher, a little lower, so it's whatever their preference is. So just tighten it up right here. And we'll get ready to do the final inspection. Oh, and now we have to do the pedals, don't we? I almost forgot about that. Okay, so let's go ahead and hold that bike for me. I'm going to show you the pedals. So these are the pedals. The pedals are not identical. They look identical at first glance, but they're actually mirror image from one another. So one is a right pedal and one is a left pedal. Now the way you'll know, unfortunately these are not marked. A lot of pedals are. The way you'll know for sure is that the right pedal screws in clockwise and the left pedal screws in counterclockwise. This is so when you're riding it, you don't loosen the pedal. So it's the opposite of the intuitive method of clockwise to tighten on the left pedal only. So go ahead and finger tighten these, and then you'll want to take a tool to finish tightening it. Okay. So I've tightened the pedals, and I'm going to take my 15mm wrench. I also noticed that the tool they gave me in the box also has a 15mm box opening, so you can actually use this if you don't have a 15mm wrench. So I wasn't able to really tighten this one with my fingers all the way. So once again, when you tighten something like this, you don't want to over tighten it. Wait till you feel a little pressure and just give it a couple of nudges, and if it's still nudging, then keep pushing. When it stops nudging, just let it go. Don't over tighten. So now when you want to put the saddle on, don't make the same mistake we did a couple of times, or once. If you decide to put the stem in first, without the seat, you run the risk of dropping the stem inside the bike. What'll happen is it will get wedged in there like that, and then you'll have to spray it with a lot of WD-40, turn the bike upside down, and with a rubber mallet, bang the end down here while it's upside down. Eventually it will fall out. So to avoid that from happening, we suggest that you assemble the seat onto the stem first. Now remember, when you put a saddle, there is some play here, and you can change it from being a little further up or level, or some drivers like it down a little bit, but when I put it together for the first time, I like to put it horizontal, so the rider can adjust it later on themselves the way they like it. So just use your 13mm box wrench, or you can use the pliers. It's easier with a box wrench. And make sure that is torqued nicely. Okay, don't over torque it, because then you might strip it, and we don't want to do that. So now it's not going to be able to, you're not going to lose it. So they've already installed this neat little quick release right here. Be careful with these, because it's easy to steal the saddle and stem with these, because a burglar could just come and undo it, and then the saddle is gone. Anyway, you want to tighten it finger tight with it open. so that when you close it, it locks it in place. Now, if you didn't tighten it enough, that might be too loose. So just open it up again, tighten it a little more finger tight, and then close it up. And you should be able to like bang it with your fist and have it be secure. If you're not happy with it, just tighten it a little bit more, and that should do it. Just play with it a little bit till you get the tension right. Okay, so now we're going to check some of the functions here. Make sure your pedals can turn, and you can squeeze the brakes. And what I like to do is to check the front brake, you want to go ahead and squeeze the left handle. Now this is loose. That is your loose brake. You can push the bike and squeeze the brake handle, and the bike doesn't stop. It's too loose. Now you notice on the right one, that's the rear brake, and if I push the bike and squeeze it, the wheels lock and it stops right away. So that's the way we want it. On the left side, it's a little loose, and like I said, adjusting brakes is a whole deal into itself, so I'm not going to go into that right now. But I'm sure there's plenty of videos online. There's a lot of adjustments here. There's the spring adjustment, position of the pivot point. There's these adjust here, the little pads. And of course, this is the main cable adjustment that tightens the whole distance between the brakes. So I do want to go ahead and tighten up my fender here, and I also want to inflate the wheels. So you just need to make sure the fender's in the center. Close the brakes, because if you don't, if the fender's not centered properly, the brakes will hit the fender, and we don't want that. So once that's done, you can tighten these up either with your nut driver or a screwdriver, but the nut driver is going to make sure that these are exactly the right torque. And what I like to do is turn the bike upside down and make sure that the gears are all working properly. So just invert your bicycle, set it on the handlebars and the seat, and you can turn the crank and operate the gears on the handle to make sure that each gear works properly. So if you find that the gears are not slipping properly onto the sprockets, you may either want to get a friend who knows more about bicycles, or look at another video online as far as tuning your bike, or take it into a bike shop, and they'll tune it for anywhere between $30 and $60. Probably because it's a new bike that they won't charge you that much. So I finished doing the final inspection and final tuning on this bike. You'll notice that the front brake now, which we had a little trouble with before, if I press I push it, press the handle, it stops dead like it's supposed to. Same thing with the rear one. We've gone through the gears, they all work properly. We've adjusted the height of the saddle, and we've adjusted the handlebars to their final position for our rider. But I noticed after it was all assembled that some of the packing left some sticky stuff in various places, like right here. See how it's not shiny? That's from some packing tape. And also on the back of the saddle, I noticed something sticky, and that can be annoying when you're picking up your bike and you're trying to move your brand new bike somewhere to park it or something, and you feel this sticky goop. Now I find that for removing stuff like this, alcohol is really the best, and because you don't want to use acetone, or some people think that a good thing to use would be nail polish remover. That is not the thing to use, because nail polish remover will take the finish off, and we don't want that. So, but alcohol has just enough solvent just to take off the sticky goop without damaging the paint. So, and that's just good in general for anything that you get sticky stuff on that would be damaged by acetone or nail polish remover, which is acetone. So just go over your bike with the cotton ball and some rubbing alcohol. This is 70 or 90% at the drugstore, and then your bike is going to be all ready to ride. Also look for my video on how to adjust the brakes on the front, because we've put quite a few of these bikes together now, and every time the front brakes are loose, so we're going to have a separate video on that. So thanks for listening, and enjoy your bike.